I'm Abigail Mitchell, 35, and I never imagined my own family would betray my daughter so cruelly. 3 weeks before Harper's 10th birthday, I sent invitations to everyone, including my mother and sister's family. They confirmed multiple times they would attend. But when the big day arrived, they were complete no-shows, no calls, no texts, nothing. Then, 3 days later, my sister Stephanie had the audacity to demand $1,850 for a cruise deposit. When I refused, they called the police claiming I stole from them. Can you believe that? Before I dive into this family nightmare, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, hit that like button, and subscribe to join our supportive community. Life as a single mom has never been easy, but I've always tried to give Harper the best life possible. Her father, Derek, walked out the door when I was 5 months pregnant, claiming he wasn't ready for fatherhood. Just like that, I was on my own. For the past 10 years, I've worked at Maxwell & Associates, a busy law firm where I serve as an administrative assistant. The pay is decent, the hours are relatively stable, and my boss understands when I occasionally need flexibility for Harper's school events. We live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment that I've tried to make as cozy as possible. It's not fancy, but it's home. I've carefully budgeted every paycheck, often skipping things I need for myself to make sure Harper has everything she requires. There have been countless nights of macaroni and cheese dinners, so I could save for school field trips or new shoes when she outgrew the old ones. My family situation has always been complicated. My sister Stephanie is 3 years older and has always been the golden child. She married Keith Sanders right out of college. He works in finance and makes good money. They have 2 children, Emma who's 12 and Noah who's 8. They live in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs with a pool and take at least 2 vacations every year. My mother Diane never misses an opportunity to point out how settled and successful Stephanie is. In contrast, I've always been treated as the family disappointment. When I got pregnant with Harper without being married, my mother didn't speak to me for 2 months. Even though I've worked hard to provide for my daughter and create a stable home, nothing seems good enough. Mom constantly makes little digs about my apartment being too small, or how Harper would benefit from a male influence, or how I should have tried harder to make things work with Derek, despite the fact he wanted nothing to do with us. The dynamic between Stephanie and me has always been strained. Growing up, she was the academic star, the athlete, the popular one. I was quieter, more creative, and struggled more in school. My mother constantly compared us, and those patterns continued into adulthood. Stephanie never misses a chance to subtly remind me of what I lack: a husband, a bigger home, financial security. What hurts the most is how they treat Harper. My daughter is the sweetest, most considerate child. She's sensitive and thoughtful, loves art and reading, and does well in school despite not having the advantages her cousins have. But my family treats her as an afterthought. They've cancelled plans with her at the last minute countless times. They buy extravagant gifts for Emma and Noah while giving Harper generic gift cards. Once, they planned a trip to Disney World with both kids, but forgot to include Harper. Despite all this, Harper still loves her grandmother and cousins. She draws pictures for them and talks about them often. She's always excited when we have family gatherings, even though I've seen the hurt in her eyes when they inevitably let her down. I've tried to shield her from the worst of it, but children are perceptive. She knows she's treated differently. About a month before Harper's birthday, I started noticing some concerning signs. My mother called to catch up and casually mentioned that kids have so many birthdays, they all blend together after a while. When I specifically reminded her about Harper turning 10, a milestone birthday, she said, "Oh, of course, I'll be there," but there was something dismissive in her tone. Around the same time, Stephanie started dropping hints about a cruise they were considering. Keith found this amazing deal, she gushed during a phone call. The kids have never been on a cruise before, and Mom's excited too. I asked when they were planning to go, and she vaguely said, "Oh, sometime this summer, we're still figuring out the details." I didn't think much of it at the time. Rachel Turner has been my best friend since high school, and has witnessed the whole dynamic with my family. She's the one person who consistently shows up for both me and Harper. After particularly difficult encounters with my family, she's the shoulder I cry on. "They don't deserve you or Harper," she always says. "Family should lift you up, not tear you down." Rachel has a son around Harper's age, and they often have playdates. She's more like family to us than my actual relatives. As Harper's birthday approached, I tried to push aside my concerns. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe they would finally show my daughter the love and attention she deserved. I wanted to believe they wouldn't disappoint her on such a special birthday. I was wrong. Harper had been counting down to her 10th birthday for months. "Double digits, Mom," she would exclaim, holding up all 10 fingers with a gap-toothed smile that melted my heart. "I'm going to be a whole decade old." When I asked what kind of party she wanted, she immediately knew: unicorns and rainbows. "Not baby unicorns," she clarified seriously. "Cool unicorns with sparkly horns and rainbow manes." I laughed and promised her the coolest unicorn party a 10-year-old could want. Together, we spent evenings crafting handmade invitations. Harper insisted on making special ones for her grandmother and cousins, adding extra glitter, and drawing tiny hearts in the corners. "Grandma loves purple," she said, carefully selecting a lavender envelope for Diane's invitation. "And Emma and Noah need extra stickers, because they are family." Watching her put such care into these invitations made my heart ache. I wanted so badly for my family to appreciate this sweet child who still believed in their love despite years of evidence to the contrary. The guest list included 15 of Harper's school friends, a few neighbor kids, and my family members, my mother Diane, sister Stephanie, brother-in-law Keith, and their children Emma and Noah. I also invited Rachel and her son Tyler, who Harper adores. To make this party happen, I picked up extra shifts at the law firm for 3 months, filing paperwork during lunch breaks, and staying late when possible. I created a detailed budget spreadsheet, allocating funds for decorations, food, party favors, and a special gift for Harper. I scoured thrift stores for unicorn decorations and rainbow items that could be repurposed. YouTube tutorials became my nightly companion as I learned to make tissue paper pom-poms and balloon arches. The cake was a labor of love. I'm no professional baker, but I spent hours practicing piping techniques on parchment paper before attempting the 2-tiered unicorn cake Harper had her heart set on. After 3 practice runs that left my kitchen looking like a sugar bomb had exploded, I finally mastered a design I was proud of: a white cake with rainbow layers inside, decorated with a fondant unicorn horn and ears, and a flowing manet made of colored buttercream. 3 weeks before the party, I personally called each family member to invite them. My mother's response was lukewarm. "Another birthday party?" She sighed. "These things are always so noisy." "Mom, it's her 10th birthday," I emphasized. "It's special to her. She really wants you there." "Fine, fine. What time?" 2 o'clock. "I'll put it on my calendar." Stephanie was more enthusiastic, suspiciously so, in retrospect. "Of course we'll be there," she gushed. "The kids are excited to see Harper. I'll bring some extra snacks and help you set up. Keith can take some photos with his fancy camera." Over the following weeks, I sent reminder texts to everyone. My family responded each time with confirmation. The day before the party, I sent a final message, Just a reminder, Harper's party starts at 1 p.m. tomorrow. We're so excited to see you all. Stephanie replied with a thumbs up emoji, and we'll be there by 2. Can't wait. My mother wrote, I remember. See you then. The night before the party, Harper could barely sleep. She kept getting out of bed to check that her special party dress was still hanging on her closet door. It was a blue dress with silver stars that we'd found on sale, and she thought it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever owned. Do you think Emma will like my dress? She asked as I tucked her in for the 3rd time. She'll love it, I assured her. Now get some sleep, or you'll be too tired to enjoy your party. I can't sleep, Mom, she confessed. I'm too excited about seeing everyone tomorrow. I sat on the edge of her bed and stroked her hair. I know, sweetie. It's going to be a wonderful day. As I kissed her goodnight, a knot formed in my stomach. I had a nagging feeling something would go wrong. I pushed it aside, telling myself I was just anxious about the party details. Surely my family wouldn't disappoint Harper on such an important day. Not this time. But as I finished the last of the preparations, arranging party favors in rainbow-colored bags, and setting up a unicorn-themed photo booth area in the corner of our living room, that feeling of dread wouldn't dissipate. I checked my phone one last time before bed, no cancellation messages. Maybe everything would be fine after all. I fell asleep surrounded by unicorn decorations and rainbow streamers, hopeful, but uneasy about the day to come. The morning of Harper's birthday dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for a party. I woke up early to finish the preparations, hanging the last of the decorations and setting up the food table. Harper bounced out of bed at 7 a.m., practically vibrating with excitement. It's my birthday, Mom, she squealed, launching herself into my arms. I'm finally 10. She insisted on helping with everything, arranging unicorn plates and napkins in perfect stacks, setting up the rainbow candy station, and placing her handmade "Welcome to Harper's 10th birthday" sign on the front door. She kept checking the clock, counting down the hours until people would arrive. When will Grandma get here? She asked for the 3rd time that morning. The party starts at 1, I reminded her gently. But she said she'd be here by 2. I can't wait to show Emma and Noah the party games I planned, Harper said, rearranging the prizes for the unicorn ring toss for the 5th time. By noon, everything was ready. Harper changed into her special blue dress, and I helped her style her hair with a silver star clip. She looked beautiful, growing up so fast it made my heart ache. The first guests arrived at 1 p.m. sharp, classmates bearing colorfully wrapped presents, their parents with polite smiles and small talk. By 1:30, most of the school friends had arrived, and the apartment was filled with the happy chaos of children playing games and laughing. But no sign of my family. At 1:45, Harper came up to me with a small frown. Shouldn't Grandma and Emma and Noah be here soon? They said they'd be here by 2, I reassured her, checking my phone. No messages. They are probably just running a little late. Harper nodded and rejoined her friends, but I noticed her glancing at the door every few minutes. 2 o'clock came and went. No family. No calls. No texts. At 2:15, I stepped into the hallway to call my mother. Straight to voicemail. I tried Stephanie. Same result. I sent urgent texts to both of them. Where are you? Harper's looking for you. No response. By 2:30, Harper was visibly distressed. She kept looking at the door whenever she heard a sound in the hallway. I tried to keep the party moving, organizing games and activities to distract her, but I could see the hurt building in her eyes. Maybe they got stuck in traffic, she suggested quietly when I found her checking the window at 2:45. Maybe, I agreed, though we both knew there was no traffic jam that lasted this long without at least a text message explanation. At 3 p.m., Harper excused herself to the bathroom. I followed a minute later and found her sitting on the closed toilet lid, tears silently streaming down her face. "They're not coming, are they?" she whispered when I knelt in front of her. I pulled her into a hug, my own eyes filling with tears. "I don't know, sweetie. I can't reach them." She wiped her eyes and straightened her shoulders, my brave girl trying to be strong. "It's okay. I still have my friends here. And you." Rachel had noticed our absence and appeared in the doorway. Taking in the situation, she immediately sat down next to Harper. "Hey, birthday girl. You know what? When I was 10, my grandmother gave me some advice I never forgot. She said the quality of people at your party matters way more than the quantity. And from what I can see, you've got some pretty amazing friends out there who are so happy to celebrate with you." Harper gave a watery smile. "You're right. And I have the best mom in the world." Rachel helped her touch up her face with a cool washcloth, and together we returned to the party. I was so grateful for Rachel in that moment. She always knew exactly what to say. The rest of the party continued without my family. We played unicorn games, took silly photos at the makeshift photo booth, and sang happy birthday over the rainbow unicorn cake I'd worked so hard on. Harper smiled and laughed with her friends, but I could see the shadow of disappointment behind her eyes. As the children gathered around to watch Harper open presents, I checked my phone one last time. Finally, a text from my mother. Something came up. "Call you later." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just something came up, as if that excused breaking a 10-year-old's heart on her birthday. By 4 p.m., the party was winding down. Parents arrived to pick up their children, many of them glancing around awkwardly, clearly having noticed the absence of family members. I overheard one mother whispering to another, "Did her grandmother ever show up?" The pitying looks were almost worse than the anger building inside me. After the last guest left, Harper and I stood in our unicorn-decorated living room surrounded by the remnants of the party. Rainbow streamers hung limply from the ceiling. Half-empty cups of punch sat on the table. The unicorn pinata remained unbroken, we'd run out of time, because I'd been stalling, hoping my family would still show up. "It was a good party, Mom," Harper said, but her voice was flat. "Thank you for making it special." She gathered her presents and took them to her room. I found her there later, arranging them on her shelf, her movements mechanical. When I sat beside her on the bed, she leaned against me. "Why don't they like me, Mom?" she asked in a small voice that broke my heart. "Oh, sweetheart, this isn't about you," I said, pulling her close. "Sometimes adults make really selfish choices. This is about them, not you." "But they are family," she insisted. "Aren't families supposed to be there for each other?" I didn't have a good answer. Instead, I held her until she fell asleep, still in her party dress, clutching the stuffed unicorn Rachel had given her. That night, as I cleaned up the party decorations, I finally let my own tears fall. Tears of anger, of heartbreak, of sheer disbelief that my own family could be so cruel to an innocent child. I stared at my phone, contemplating calling them to unleash my fury, but decided against it. Tonight was about comforting Harper. Tomorrow would be soon enough for confrontations. As I fell into an exhausted sleep, I had no idea that the worst was yet to come. For 3 days, we heard nothing substantial from my family. My mother's "call you later" never materialized into an actual call. Stephanie remained completely silent. Harper moved through her days with a quietness that wasn't like her. Her teacher, Mrs. Bennett, emailed me concerned that Harper seemed withdrawn at school. I was still processing my anger, trying to decide how to address the situation with my family without making things worse for Harper. Should I confront them? Cut them off completely? I wasn't sure what the right answer was, but I knew something had to change. I couldn't let them keep hurting my daughter like this. On Wednesday afternoon, 3 days after the party, I had just gotten home from work and was helping Harper with her math homework when someone knocked on our door. Opening it revealed my sister Stephanie, designer sunglasses perched on her head, looking completely nonchalant, as if she hadn't just ghosted her niece's birthday party. "Hey," she said breezily, stepping past me into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. "Got any coffee?" I stood there in shock for a moment before closing the door. Harper had looked up from her homework, her expression a mixture of confusion and lingering hurt. "Aunt Stephanie," she said hesitantly. "Hey, kiddo," Stephanie replied with a quick wave before turning back to me. "So, coffee." I sent Harper to her room to finish her homework, promising we'd continue helping her in a few minutes. Once she was gone, I turned to my sister. "What are you doing here?" I asked, not bothering to hide the coldness in my voice. "What? I can't visit my sister." Stephanie dropped onto our couch, looking around the apartment with the slightly disdainful expression she always wore in my home. "After what you did. Or didn't do, I should say. You can't just show up here like nothing happened." Stephanie rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on. It was just a birthday party. Harper has one every year. It was her 10th birthday. She waited all day for you guys. You promised her you'd be there. Look, something came up, okay? It couldn't be helped." I crossed my arms. "And what exactly was so important that you couldn't even send a text message?" That's when Stephanie's face lit up. "That's actually why I'm here. We found this amazing deal on a family cruise. Like, ridiculously cheap for a 7-day Caribbean cruise. But it was literally last minute. We had to book it on the spot or lose it." I stared at her, uncomprehending. "What are you talking about?" "The cruise, Abby. Keep up. We found out about this deal Saturday morning and had to go to the travel agency right away to secure it. That's why we couldn't make the party." The pieces suddenly clicked together. "You skipped Harper's birthday, which you had committed to weeks in advance, to book a vacation." Stephanie shrugged. "It was time sensitive. We couldn't reschedule the booking, but kids have birthdays every year. Besides, we're bringing Mom. It's going to be this whole family thing." "Whole family? Except Harper and me, you mean?" An uncomfortable expression flickered across Stephanie's face, but she recovered quickly. "Well, that's sort of why I'm here." She reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a brochure, sliding it across the coffee table toward me. It showed a gleaming white cruise ship cutting through turquoise waters, the word Caribbean emblazoned across the top in flowing script. "The thing is," Stephanie continued, her voice taking on the persuasive tone she used when trying to sell something, "we're a little short on the deposit. Keith had some unexpected work expenses, and covering Mom's portion has stretched us thin." I felt a sense of dread building. "What does this have to do with me?" "We need $1,850 to complete the deposit by tomorrow. I was hoping you could loan it to us. As family." I actually laughed, the request was so absurd. "You're joking, right?" Stephanie's expression hardened. "No, I'm not joking. It's not a big deal, Abby. You can put it on a credit card if you don't have the cash." "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You and Mom and Keith ditched my daughter's birthday party, didn't even call or text, to book a cruise that you're all going on without us. And now you want me to give you nearly $2,000 for this cruise? Are you out of your mind?" Don't be so dramatic. It's a loan. Stephanie, I'm a single mom. I work as an administrative assistant. Where do you think I have an extra $2,000 lying around? I just spent a chunk of my savings on Harper's birthday party, the one you didn't bother to attend. Stephanie's face flushed with anger. This is so typical of you. Always making yourself the victim. Mom was right, you're still as selfish as you were as a teenager. I'm selfish. The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. You broke my daughter's heart, and now you want me to fund your vacation. It's a family trip. Mom hasn't been on a real vacation in years. Don't you care about her happiness at all? I lowered my voice, aware that Harper might overhear. I care about my daughter, who cried herself to sleep, because her family couldn't be bothered to show up for her special day. The answer is no. Absolutely not. I don't have the money, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you after what you did. Stephanie stood up, grabbing her purse. This is why you're always struggling, Abby. You never think about anyone but yourself. Mom and I have always tried to help you, and this is how you repay us. By refusing to help when we need it. Help me. When have you ever actually helped me? By constantly criticizing my life choices. By treating Harper like she's less important than your kids. We've done plenty for you over the years, Stephanie snapped. Remember when Mom watched Harper that time she had the flu and you couldn't miss work? Or when I gave you those hand-me-downs from Emma? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're talking about basic family support, the absolute minimum, and acting like you deserve a medal. Meanwhile, I've spent years making excuses to Harper about why her grandmother and aunt consistently disappoint her. You're going to regret this, Stephanie said, heading for the door. Keith already told the travel agent we'd have the full deposit tomorrow. We'll lose the booking and the money we already put down. That's not my problem. Maybe you should have thought about your finances before booking a cruise you couldn't afford. As she yanked open the door, Stephanie turned back with a cold smile. You know, Mom still has that spare key to your place. The one you gave her for emergencies. Just something to think about. The implied threat hung in the air between us. Are you seriously threatening to break into my apartment? I'm not threatening anything. Just making an observation. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I stood frozen in place, trying to process what had just happened. The audacity was breathtaking. After a moment, I remembered Harper and went to check on her. She was sitting on her bed, eyes wide. Mom? Is Aunt Stephanie mad at us? I sat beside her, choosing my words carefully. Aunt Stephanie is dealing with some grown-up problems right now. It's not about you, sweetie. I heard yelling. And something about money. I sighed. Sometimes adults don't handle things well. Your aunt asked for something unreasonable, and I had to say no. Harper nodded solemnly. Is that why they didn't come to my party? Because they are mad at us? No, honey. They missed your party because they were booking a vacation. It was a very selfish choice, and it's okay for you to feel hurt by that. I pulled her into a hug, wishing I could shield her from all of this dysfunction. As I held her, I made a mental note to change our locks first thing in the morning. Something told me this situation was far from over. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. 6 missed calls from my mother. 4 from Stephanie. 3 from Keith. A dozen text messages, each more demanding than the last. Mom, call me immediately. This is unacceptable behavior. Stephanie, you're being ridiculous. It's just a loan. Keith, your sister is in tears. Hope you're happy. As I got Harper ready for school, I silenced my phone. I needed time to think, to process what was happening without their voices in my head. Harper seemed subdued, picking at her breakfast. "Are you okay, sweetie?" I asked, brushing her hair back from her forehead. She nodded unconvincingly. "Is Grandma mad at us too now?" My heart sank. She had clearly overheard more than I realized. Some grown-up problems are happening right now. But none of this is your fault. Not one bit. I dropped her off at school with extra hugs and headed to work, where I found 5 voicemails waiting on my office phone. During my lunch break, I finally listened to them. My mother's voice was cold and accusatory. "Abigail, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you need to help your sister. After everything we've done for you and Harper over the years, this is how you repay us. By being selfish when we need you. Call me back immediately." Stephanie's messages grew increasingly hostile, culminating in, "If you don't transfer the money by tomorrow, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. Mom is heartbroken by your behavior." I sat at my desk, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. The emotional manipulation was so blatant it was almost laughable, except it wasn't funny at all. Throughout the day, the calls and texts continued. My mother's longtime friend Susan, whom I'd known since childhood, called to tell me how disappointed she was in me. "Your poor mother is devastated," she said. "After all she sacrificed raising you girls alone after your father died." My mother had indeed struggled after my father's heart attack took him when I was 12. But she'd used that struggle as a weapon against me for years, while never acknowledging my own challenges as a single parent. By the time I picked Harper up from school, 3 of my cousins had also called, all with the same message. I was being selfish and hurting the family by not helping with the cruise deposit. That evening, as Harper worked on a science project in her room, my mother called again. This time, I answered. "Finally," she snapped. "I was beginning to think you'd disappeared." "I've been working, Mom. And taking care of Harper." "Well, we need to fix this situation with the cruise. Stephanie tells me you're refusing to help." "That's right," I said firmly. "I don't have that kind of money to spare, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to people who just broke my daughter's heart by skipping her birthday party." My mother sighed dramatically. "Oh, for heaven's sake. It was just a birthday party. She'll have plenty more. This cruise is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was her 10th birthday, Mom. A milestone. And you all confirmed multiple times you would be there. Sometimes things come up. You're being childish about this." I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. "I'm not giving Stephanie money for a cruise. That's final. Then we need to have a family meeting to discuss this. Tomorrow night at my house, 7 p.m. Be there." Before I could respond, she hung up. The next day brought more of the same, calls, texts, even emails from family members. The story had apparently morphed in the telling. Now some relatives believed I had promised to contribute to the cruise fund and backed out at the last minute. I reached out to Rachel, overwhelmed by the onslaught. "They're all acting like I'm the unreasonable one," I told her over the phone. "Am I crazy? Am I missing something?" "You're not crazy," Rachel assured me. "They're gaslighting you. This is classic manipulation. They messed up by missing Harper's party, and instead of apologizing, they're creating this whole drama to deflect from their bad behavior." That evening, I arranged for Harper to spend a few hours at Rachel's house with her son Tyler. I didn't want her anywhere near this family meeting, which I suspected would be more of an ambush. I arrived at my mother's house at 7 p.m. sharp to find not just Mom and Stephanie's family, but also my Aunt Linda, 2 cousins, and even my mother's sister from out of town. They were all seated in the living room, looking serious and concerned, like some kind of bizarre intervention. "What is this?" I asked, remaining standing near the door. "We're here to discuss the family situation," my mother said gravely. "We're worried about you, Abby." "Worried about me? Why?" "Because I won't give Stephanie money I don't have for a cruise I'm not invited on." Stephanie, sitting beside Keith on the sofa, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "It's not about the money anymore. It's about your attitude. The way you've been talking to Mom. The accusations you've been making." I looked around the room, feeling like I'd stepped into the twilight zone. "What accusations?" "That you skipped Harper's birthday party." "That's not an accusation, it's what happened." My Aunt Linda leaned forward. "Abby, dear, we all understand you're under a lot of pressure as a single mother. But taking it out on your family isn't the answer." "I'm not taking anything out on anyone. They missed Harper's party without so much as a text message, then showed up asking for nearly $2,000. Keith cleared his throat. "Actually, we need $3,000 now. The $1,850 was just for the initial deposit. We need the rest by next week." I stared at him in disbelief. "Are you kidding me? You actually expect me to give you $3,000? "It's a loan," Stephanie insisted. "We'll pay you back." "With what? When? You already said you're stretched thin financially." My mother stood up, her face tight with anger. "That's enough, Abigail. This attitude is exactly why we're concerned. You've always been selfish, but this is beyond the pale. After everything this family has done for you and Harper. What exactly have you done for Harper? Besides consistently disappointing her, and treating her like she's less important than Emma and Noah." The room erupted in protests and denials. Everyone talking over each other about how much they loved Harper, how I was poisoning her against them, how ungrateful I was being. I held up my hands. "Stop. Just stop. This is insane. You're all acting like I've committed some terrible crime by not giving you money I don't have." "It's not about the money," my mother repeated, though Keith's expression suggested otherwise. "It's about family loyalty." "Loyalty? Where was your loyalty when Harper was waiting all day for you to show up to her party?" No one had a good answer for that. Instead, they pivoted back to how difficult I was being, how I'd always been the troublemaker, how I needed to grow up and put family first. After 20 minutes of this, I'd had enough. I stood up and headed for the door. "This is pointless. I'm not giving you money for a cruise. End of discussion." My mother followed me to the door. "If you walk out now, don't expect things to go back to normal. There are consequences for this kind of behavior, Abigail." I turned to face her. "Are you seriously threatening to cut me off, because I won't fund your vacation?" "I'm saying family works both ways. If you're not there for us when we need you, why should we be there for you?" The irony of this statement, coming after they had quite literally not been there for us, was too much. I walked out without another word. As I drove home, my phone rang. It was my mother again. Against my better judgment, I answered on speakerphone. "Have you reconsidered?" she asked without preamble. "No, Mom. I haven't. This is your last chance, Abby. Either you transfer the money by morning, or we're done." "I mean it." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "If that's your position, then I guess we're done. I won't be manipulated or bullied, not even by family. Especially not by family. You'll regret this," she said coldly, and hung up. I pulled over, suddenly unable to see the road clearly through my tears. The finality of what had just happened hit me hard. Had I just lost my entire family over a cruise deposit? As dysfunctional as they were still my family. Harper's family. The thought of telling her that her grandmother and aunt wanted nothing to do with us anymore broke my heart. But as I sat there, another emotion began to push through the grief: relief. Relief that maybe, just maybe, this toxic cycle could finally end. That Harper and I might actually be better off, without their conditional love and constant disappointments. I blocked their numbers that night. Whatever came next, I needed space to figure out how to move forward, for Harper's sake and my own. 2 days later, Harper and I were having a quiet Saturday morning at home. She was still subdued, but we'd had a good talk about how sometimes people we love can act in ways that hurt us, and how it's okay to set boundaries. We were making chocolate chip pancakes together, our weekend tradition, when there was a sharp knock at the door. Harper looked up from stirring the batter. "Are we expecting someone?" "No," I said, frowning. "Keep stirring. I'll see who it is." Nothing could have prepared me for the sight of 2 uniformed police officers standing in my hallway. One was a tall man with graying hair, his nameplate read Wilson. The other was a younger woman with her dark hair pulled back tightly, Officer Reyes. "Ms. Mitchell?" Officer Wilson asked. I nodded, my mouth suddenly dry. "Yes, that's me. May we come in? We'd like to ask you some questions." I stepped back automatically, my mind racing. What could the police possibly want with me? As they entered, Harper appeared in the kitchen doorway, her eyes wide with alarm. "Harper, honey, why don't you go to your room for a bit?" I suggested, trying to keep my voice calm. "Is everything okay, Mom?" she asked, her voice small. "Everything's fine, sweetie. I just need to talk to these officers for a few minutes." Once Harper had reluctantly retreated to her bedroom, I turned to the officers. "What's this about?" Officer Wilson took out a notepad. "We're following up on a theft report filed by Diane Mitchell and Stephanie Sanders. They claim you've taken money from them." The shock hit me like a physical blow. "Excuse me. I haven't taken anything from anyone." Officer Reyes watched me carefully. "According to the report, you agreed to contribute $3,000 toward a family vacation, and then refused to provide the funds after they had already made financial commitments based on your promise." I let out a disbelieving laugh. "That is absolutely false. I never agreed to give them money for a cruise. In fact, they showed up at my door demanding money after they skipped my daughter's birthday party without even calling. Ms. Mitchell also claims that you took $500 in cash from her purse during a recent visit to her home," Officer Wilson continued. My jaw dropped. "That's a complete lie. I haven't been to my mother's house in weeks, except for a family meeting 3 days ago, and I certainly didn't take any money." "Can you tell us your version of events?" Officer Reyes asked, her tone slightly softer than her partner's. I took a deep breath and recounted everything: Harper's birthday party, my family's no-show, Stephanie's demand for money, the family pressure campaign, and my mother's ultimatum. "I have text messages," I said, reaching for my phone. "You can see where they confirmed they were coming to the party, then where my mother said something came up without explanation." I showed them the texts, as well as the barrage of messages demanding money. As the officers reviewed them, I could see their expressions shifting. "Do you have any witnesses who can confirm your family didn't attend your daughter's birthday?" Officer Wilson asked. "About 15 other parents and their children," I replied. "Plus my friend Rachel Turner, who was there the whole time. I also have photos from the party showing everyone who was there and who wasn't." I pulled up the birthday photos on my phone, showing Harper blowing out candles on her unicorn cake, playing games with her friends, and the conspicuous absence of any family members. As I swiped through the images, Harper's bedroom door opened. She stood there watching us, her small face pinched with worry. "Mom? Why are the police here? Are we in trouble?" Officer Reyes turned toward her with a gentle smile. "No one's in trouble, sweetheart. We're just asking your mom some questions." But Harper wasn't easily reassured. She came closer, wrapping her arms around my waist. "Is this about Grandma and Aunt Stephanie? I heard them on the phone yelling about money." I exchanged glances with the officers, unsure how much to say in front of her. Officer Wilson gave a subtle nod, seeming to understand the situation better now. "Harper," I said carefully, "Grandma and Aunt Stephanie are upset because I couldn't give them money for their cruise. They've told the police I took money from them, which isn't true." Harper looked up at the officers earnestly. "My mom would never steal. She works really hard for our money. She even worked extra so I could have a nice birthday party, but my family didn't come." Officer Reyes knelt down to Harper's level. "Your birthday was recently." Harper nodded. "I turned 10. It was supposed to be special because it's double digits. Mom made me a unicorn cake and everything. But Grandma and Aunt Stephanie and Uncle Keith and my cousins didn't come. They didn't even call." The simple honesty of a child seemed to cut through any remaining doubts. Officer Wilson closed his notepad. "Ms. Mitchell, based on what we've seen and heard, this appears to be a family dispute rather than a criminal matter. There's no evidence of theft, just a disagreement about a verbal commitment that can't be proven either way." Relief flooded through me. "Thank you." Officer Reyes stood up. "However, I should warn you that family disputes can sometimes escalate. If you feel harassed or threatened, don't hesitate to contact us." "Do you think they might do something else?" I asked, suddenly worried about what my family might try next. "It's hard to say," Officer Wilson replied carefully. "But you might want to document any further interactions, just in case." As they prepared to leave, Officer Reyes handed me her card. "Call if you need anything." And she hesitated, glancing at Harper. "This is just my personal opinion, but sometimes family by blood isn't as important as the family we choose." After they left, Harper looked up at me, her eyes swimming with confusion and hurt. "Why would Grandma tell the police you stole from her? That's a lie." I guided her to the couch, sitting down beside her. "Sometimes when people feel bad about their own behavior, they try to make someone else look bad instead of admitting they did something wrong. So they feel bad about missing my party. They should feel bad about that. But instead of apologizing, they're trying to make me look like the bad person by saying I stole from them or broke a promise." Harper was quiet for a moment, processing this. "That's really mean, Mom." "Yes, it is. And it's okay for us to be upset about it." "Are they going to keep being mean to us?" I wished I could promise her they wouldn't, but I couldn't lie. "I don't know, sweetie. But whatever happens, we have each other. And we have Rachel and Tyler, and your friends from school, and lots of people who care about us and treat us with kindness and respect." Harper leaned against me. "I don't want to see Grandma, or Aunt Stephanie, if they're going to lie about you." I hugged her close, my heart breaking that she had to learn such difficult lessons about family at such a young age. "We'll figure it out together, okay? One day at a time." That night, after Harper was asleep, I called Rachel and told her everything. "They called the police on you," she gasped. "That's a new low, even for them." "I'm worried about what they might try next," I admitted. "The officer suggested I document everything, but what if they escalate further?" "You should talk to Laura at your firm," Rachel suggested. "She's a lawyer, right? She might have some advice about how to protect yourself legally. It was a good idea. Laura Jenkins was an associate at the law firm where I worked, and we'd become friendly over the years. She specialized in family law, and might know what steps I should take next. As I lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, I found myself wondering how things had gotten so out of hand. How had a missed birthday party spiraled into police at my door? And what might my family do next in their desperate attempt to get money for their cruise, or worse, to punish me for refusing? The next morning, I woke up to discover my mother had taken the dispute to social media. There, for all our extended family and mutual friends to see, was a lengthy post about how her troubled daughter had stolen from family and broken promises, causing them to lose their deposit on a much-needed family vacation. She carefully crafted the narrative to make herself the victim, writing about her heartbreak and confusion over my sudden betrayal. She even suggested I might be unstable and needed help, asking people to pray for Abigail during this difficult time. The comments section was filled with sympathetic responses from relatives and family friends who had only heard her side of the story. Some expressed shock at my behavior. Others offered prayers for my healing. A few even suggested I might have addiction issues that explained my supposed theft. I felt physically ill reading it, but resisted the urge to post a public defense. Getting into a social media war would only make things worse, especially for Harper, who might eventually see it. Instead, I took screenshots to document the false accusations, then logged off. At breakfast, Harper was unusually quiet, pushing her cereal around the bowl without eating much. "Everything okay?" I asked, though I knew it wasn't. "Kayla texted me," she said, not looking up. She said her mom saw something online about us having problems. She wanted to know if I'm okay. My heart sank. Of course the gossip would spread to Harper's friends and their parents. We lived in a relatively small community where news traveled fast. "What did you tell her?" I asked gently. "I said my grandma is mad at us, but we're okay." She finally looked up. "Are we okay, Mom?" I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Yes, sweetie. We're okay. Some people might say unkind things or believe stories that aren't true, but we know the truth. That's what matters." After dropping Harper at school, I called Laura from the law firm and asked if we could meet for lunch. She agreed immediately. "I've already heard rumors," she admitted when we sat down at a cafe near the office. "Your mother has been quite vocal about her version of events." I sighed. "It's gotten completely out of hand. They called the police on me, Laura." "The police?" I showed her the screenshots of my mother's social media posts, the text messages, and explained the whole situation from the beginning. Laura listened carefully, her expression growing increasingly concerned. "This is seriously dysfunctional behavior, Abby. And what they are doing now, spreading false accusations that could damage your reputation, crosses into potential legal issues. What should I do?" "First, document everything. Every text, every social media post, every interaction. Second, I think we should send them a cease and desist letter." "Isn't that a bit extreme?" Laura looked at me seriously. "They called the police and accused you of theft. They are publicly suggesting you're unstable and dishonest. That could affect your job, Harper's school situation, your standing in the community. It's not extreme to legally request they stop making false statements about you." She was right, of course. I authorized her to draft the letter from her firm, making it clear that continued defamation would have legal consequences. The cease and desist letter had an immediate effect. My mother's inflammatory social media post disappeared. The text messages and calls stopped. For a blissful week, there was silence from my family. During that quiet period, I was touched by the support that emerged from unexpected places. 3 mothers from Harper's school reached out to express support, having seen through my mother's dramatic accusations. My boss called me into his office to assure me that my job was secure, regardless of family drama. And Rachel organized a special weekend outing for Harper and several of her closest friends to a pottery painting studio, giving her something positive to focus on. Harper seemed to be processing things in her own way. She asked thoughtful, sometimes painful questions that I did my best to answer honestly, but age-appropriately. "Why do they care more about a vacation than about me?" she asked one evening as I tucked her into bed. "It's not that they don't care about you," I said, though part of me wondered if that was true. "It's that some people get so focused on what they want that they forget to consider how their actions affect others. Will they ever say sorry? I don't know, sweetie. Some people find it very hard to admit when they've done something wrong. If they said sorry, would we forgive them?" I stroked her hair, considering the question carefully. Forgiveness is complicated. We can forgive someone without letting them hurt us again. If they were truly sorry and showed they wanted to change how they treat us, we could think about rebuilding our relationship with them. But they would need to show us through their actions, not just words. She nodded solemnly. "I think I understand." Just when I thought things might be calming down, I received a disturbing phone call from a friend who worked at Harper's school. Apparently, my mother had called the school counselor expressing concerns about Harper's home environment, suggesting I might be emotionally unstable and the school should keep an eye on the situation. Fortunately, the school staff knew me well enough to be skeptical of these claims, but I was horrified by this new attempt to interfere with our lives. Laura added this incident to our documentation file. Then came the final confrontation. I was at work, discussing a case file with one of the partners, when the receptionist called to say my mother and sister were in the lobby, insisting on seeing me immediately. "I'm sorry, they're saying it's a family emergency," she explained, sounding uncomfortable. I excused myself from the meeting and went to the lobby, where I found my mother and Stephanie creating a scene. My mother was speaking loudly about how worried she was about me, while Stephanie dramatically dabbed at non-existent tears. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice low and controlled despite my racing heart. "We need to talk to you," my mother announced. "Since you've been ignoring our calls." "Because I received a cease and desist letter." Stephanie interjected, loud enough for everyone in the reception area to hear. "Please lower your voice," I said firmly. "This is my workplace." "We wouldn't have to come to your workplace if you'd answer your phone," my mother countered. "We're concerned about you, Abigail. Your behavior lately." "Stop," I interrupted. "You know exactly why I'm not answering your calls. You lied about me to the police. You've spread false accusations about me to family and friends. You tried to interfere at Harper's school. Now you're creating a scene at my job. This has to stop." "We just want what's best for you," Stephanie insisted, her voice syrupy with fake concern. "We think you need help." I noticed several colleagues watching the exchange, including Laura, who had appeared in the doorway to her office. Her presence gave me strength. "What I need," I said clearly, "is for you to respect my boundaries. I will not be giving you money. I will not tolerate lies about me. And I will not allow you to disrupt my life, or Harper's any further." "So you're choosing to cut off your family?" my mother asked dramatically. "Over a simple misunderstanding?" "This is not a misunderstanding. This is a pattern of toxic behavior that I'm no longer willing to accept. If you want to have any relationship with me or Harper in the future, it will need to be on different terms. Terms that include mutual respect and honesty." My mother's face hardened. "I see you've made your choice." Don't come crying to us when you realize what you've thrown away. Mrs. Mitchell, a firm voice interrupted. It was Mr. Maxwell, the founding partner of the firm. I'm going to have to ask you and your companion to leave the premises. Our receptionist has already called security. My mother looked shocked to be addressed this way by someone of Mr. Maxwell's obvious authority and standing. She opened her mouth as if to argue, then closed it again. 2 security guards appeared, professionally, but firmly making it clear that my mother and sister needed to leave. As they were escorted out, Stephanie turned back. "This isn't over, Abby," she called. "You'll regret this." Once they were gone, I stood trembling in the lobby, embarrassment and relief washing over me in equal measure. Mr. Maxwell placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. "Take the rest of the day off, Abigail. Family matters can be complicated. But don't worry about your position here. We value your work." Laura walked me to my car. "I'll add this incident to our documentation," she assured me. "If they contact you again, or show up anywhere else, we may need to consider a restraining order." "Do you think they'll give up now?" I asked. She considered this. "They've escalated several times when their tactics didn't work. But now they've faced actual consequences, being escorted out by security, the cease and desist letter. It might be enough to make them reconsider." I hoped she was right, for both my sake and Harper's. That evening, Harper and I sat together on our small balcony, sharing ice cream as the sun set. I knew I needed to have a difficult conversation with her about our family situation. "Sweetie, I need to talk to you about Grandma and Aunt Stephanie," I began. Harper looked up, her spoon paused halfway to her mouth. "Are they still mad at us?" "Yes, they are. And they've been doing some things that aren't okay, saying untrue things about me, trying to cause problems. I think we need to take a break from seeing them for a while." Harper was quiet for a moment, processing this. "How long is a while?" "I don't know," I admitted. "It depends on whether they can start treating us with respect. But it might be a long time." "What about Emma and Noah?" "They're just kids like me." Her concern for her cousins touched my heart. "I know you'll miss them. Maybe someday we can figure out a way for you to see them. But right now, we need some space from the whole situation." She nodded, surprising me with her maturity. "I understand, Mom. They've been really mean to you, and they made me feel bad too. It's okay if we don't see them for a long time." I pulled her into a hug, feeling both sad that she had to deal with this family dysfunction, and proud of her emotional intelligence. "You know what," she added, pulling back to look at me. "Rachel and Tyler feel more like family anyway. They actually show up when they say they will." "You're right," I agreed. "Sometimes the family we choose is more reliable than the family we're born into." The following weeks and months were a period of adjustment and healing for both of us. There were difficult moments, holidays where the absence of extended family felt particularly acute, questions from well-meaning acquaintances about family gatherings, the occasional social media post from my mother vaguely alluding to being abandoned by unnamed loved ones. I arranged for Harper to see a child therapist, Dr. Bennett, who specialized in family issues. The sessions helped her process her feelings of rejection and understand that her grandmother's and aunt's behavior reflected their own issues, not her worthiness of love. As for me, I found solace in a support group for people dealing with toxic family relationships. Hearing others' stories helped me realize that setting boundaries wasn't selfish. It was necessary self-preservation. Slowly, we built new traditions and strengthened connections with the people who genuinely cared for us. Rachel and her family included us in their holiday celebrations. Harper formed closer bonds with her school friends. I developed stronger friendships with colleagues, who had supported me through the workplace incident. 6 months after the final confrontation, a letter arrived from my mother. It was carefully worded to sound conciliatory, without actually containing an apology. "I hope you've had time to reconsider our disagreement," she wrote. "Family should stick together, regardless of past misunderstandings. Harper's birthday is coming up again soon, and I'd like to be part of her special day. After consultation with my therapist, I sent a measured response. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate your interest in reconnecting. However, for Harper's and my well-being, I need acknowledgement of the hurtful behaviors that led to our current situation. If you're open to having an honest conversation about moving forward in a healthier way, perhaps with the help of a family therapist, I would consider it. Harper deserves relationships with family members who respect both her and her mother." I never received a reply. Stephanie remained completely silent. As Harper's 11th birthday approached, I noticed she didn't mention inviting her grandmother or cousins. Instead, she was excited about a smaller celebration we'd planned with her closest friends at a local art studio. "Are you sure you're okay with a smaller party this year?" I asked as we worked on invitations. "It's not smaller," she replied thoughtfully. "It's just that everyone coming actually wants to be there." Her insight struck me. She was right, it wasn't about the number of people, but the quality of the relationships. The day of her 11th birthday party was filled with laughter, creativity, and genuine joy. No one was missing. No one was checking the door every few minutes, waiting for people who wouldn't show. Every person there loved Harper and showed up for her. As I watched her surrounded by friends, her face glowing with happiness, as she showed off the ceramic unicorn she'd painted, I realized how far we'd come. The previous year's party, despite all my efforts to make it special, had been shadowed by the pain of my family's rejection. This year, there was no shadow, only light. In the year since the cruise incident, both Harper and I had grown stronger and wiser. She had learned, earlier than I would have wished, but perhaps necessarily, that love shouldn't come with manipulative strings attached. That healthy relationships involve mutual respect and honesty. That it's okay to distance yourself from people who consistently hurt you, even if they are family. For my part, I'd learned to recognize manipulation tactics I'd previously normalized. I'd found the courage to set boundaries and stick to them, despite intense pressure. I'd discovered that standing up for yourself might be frightening in the moment, but brings peace in the long run. Most importantly, I'd broken a generational cycle of toxic family dynamics, creating a healthier environment for Harper to grow up in, one where her feelings were validated, where she wasn't used as a pawn in adult conflicts, where she could trust that the people who claimed to love her would actually show up for her. As we drove home from the party, Harper sleepy, but content in the passenger seat, she turned to me with a serious expression. "Mom? I'm glad we didn't give them money for their cruise." "Me too, sweetie. And I'm glad we stood up for ourselves, even though it was hard. That was brave of us, wasn't it?" She nodded, looking out at the sunset. "Do you think they ever went on their cruise?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe they did, maybe they didn't." "I hope they did," she said after a moment. "Not because they deserve it, but because maybe if they had fun together, they might be nicer people now." Her compassion, even after everything they had put us through, moved me deeply. "That's a very kind thought, Harper." As we pulled into our apartment complex, I realized that despite everything, the drama, the police, the public humiliation, the family estrangement, I felt at peace with our decisions. By refusing to give in to manipulation and standing firm in my boundaries, I had taught Harper the most valuable lesson, that she deserved respect, honesty, and unconditional love. That lesson was worth far more than $3,000, or family harmony maintained through sacrifice and submission. That night, as I tucked Harper into bed, surrounded by her birthday presents from people who truly cared about her, I knew we were going to be okay. Better than okay, we were going to thrive, with or without the family members who had chosen a cruise over her birthday party. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who crossed the line? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Remember that protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary self-care. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And don't forget to share with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for listening, and remember, blood makes you related, but loyalty and respect make you family.